Teisha Bader with the JBS News update for Monday, October the 26th, 2015. An IDF soldier was stabbed this morning by a Palestinian in the West Bank. The attack took place near the Jewish settlement of Kiryat Arba at the Beit Anun junction north of Hebron. The 19-year-old soldier was stabbed several times in the neck, sustaining serious injuries. He received emergency treatment at the scene by Magen David Adom paramedics and was then evacuated to Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center in Jerusalem, where he is said to now be in stable condition after undergoing surgery. The terrorist was shot and killed by IDF forces. Army radio reported that later today a stabbing attack was thwarted in Hebron when a Palestinian man came at members of the Givati Infantry Brigade, who shot at him. Initial reports said the terrorist was killed. Other reports say he is alive with critical injuries. The incident took place near the Cave of the Patriarchs. Today's incidents follow several attacks yesterday in the West Bank. A Palestinian stabbed and moderately injured an Israeli civilian near the Jewish settlement of Metzad in Gush Etzion. The Israeli man, said to be 58 years old, had reportedly gotten out of his car after Palestinians threw rocks at it, which injured him in the head. He was then stabbed in the chest. He was evacuated in moderate condition to Hadassah Hospital. And a 25-year-old Israeli was stabbed by a Palestinian at the Ariel junction in the West Bank. Magen David Adom paramedics treated the man for multiple stab wounds to his upper body. He was taken to the hospital in Petah Tikva in serious but stable condition. Israeli security forces made an arrest of a suspect in that attack. And a stabbing attack was prevented yesterday in the West Bank when a 17-year-old Palestinian girl tried to stab soldiers at a checkpoint in Hebron. Border police soldiers had asked her for her ID as she was acting suspiciously. She then came at them with a knife, screaming. They shot at her, and she later died of her injuries. Israel has agreed this weekend to install video cameras at the Temple Mount to monitor activity there. The move was initiated by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. One of the steps he announced this weekend, it was suggested by King Abdullah after meeting with the Jordanian leader in Amman. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he was in favor of the idea, that it could help counter claims that Israel is trying to expand the Jewish presence at the Temple Mount. Netanyahu told his cabinet yesterday that Israel has no plans to change the status quo at the site, where Jews are allowed to visit but not to pray. Today, the Waqf, the Muslim authority that administers the Temple Mount, reportedly tried to install its own cameras but was stopped from doing so by Israeli police. Netanyahu's office said this was a result of a misunderstanding and that arrangements about how and when the cameras are to be installed are still being discussed. Netanyahu said the cameras will be installed according to the outcome of the agreements, which will be determined by the sides, referring there to Israel and Jordan. He said that Israel already expressed its agreement to beginning the process as soon as possible. Israel marked the 20th anniversary of the assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin last night and will hold events throughout this week to pay tribute and mourn the slain leader. The state memorial ceremony for Rabin was held at Mount Herzl today. It was attended by Israeli President Reuven Rivlin and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, who said at the memorial that Israel would continue to fight terror, but also strive for peace. The week of commemoration will conclude Saturday night at Rabin Square in Tel Aviv, in a special ceremony that will be opened by President Rivlin and will also include participation by former U.S. President Bill Clinton, who was president at the time of the Rabin assassination. And Jewish leaders from around the world who are in Israel for the Jewish Agency for Israel Board of Governors fall meetings observed a moment of silence in memory of Rabin during that meeting's opening session in Jerusalem yesterday, which took place in the Old City, where agency chairman Natan Sharansky referred to the ruins of the Temple and of Jerusalem. Sharansky said it was the Romans who destroyed the sanctuary, but our sages say that the true cause of the destruction was sinat chinam, baseless hatred. 20 years ago today, Sharansky said, Israel experienced an event that represented a nadir of sinat chinam, the murder of a prime minister. Sharansky said that in order for Israel to overcome its challenges, sinat chinam must be eradicated. And looking now at our programming for tonight on JBS, Monday, October the 26th. As the 2015 World Series gets into swing, JBS presents some special programming for baseball fans of all ages, including at 8 o'clock, Dr. Jeffrey Gurak, who talks about how Jewish engagement with sports reflects Jewry's evolving status in the U.S. That's from Fairfield University's Bennett Center for Judaic Studies. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Larry Ruttman, who chronicles Jews who have played the game of baseball or been involved with aspects of the game, featured in his anthology, that's on L'chaim. And at 10, former baseball players Art Shamsky, Ron Blomberg, and Elliot Maddox talk with journalist Richard Deutsch about being Jewish in the major leagues. That's from Temple Shalom in Greenwich, Connecticut. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, American-born Israeli blogger Paula Stern describes how Israelis are dealing with Palestinian violence. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, October the 26th, 2015. I'm Teisha Bader.